So I often get asked if you should engage all day, like when you're walking and when you are just standing. Should you engage your TVAs? And the answer is kind of a bit confusing because no, you should not stand engaged all day because that will over tighten both your pelvic floor and your TVAs. And as we know, a over tight muscle is a dysfunctional muscle. If your bicep was held in a tight position all day, could you function? Could you pick up a pen? Could you write? Could you reach? Could you open a door? You couldn't because your bicep is not functioning because it's in this position. And then if we strengthen our bicep like this in this position, we're not actually strengthening through the full length of the bicep muscle. A functional bicep goes down and up. It releases and relaxes and contracts through the full range of motion. But also think about the tricep. If we stayed here, our tricep would be lengthened and weakened all the time. So the same goes with our pelvic floor and our TVAs. We do not want to keep them tight all day because it's going to cause dysfunction, and not just for our core, but for any opposing muscles as well. But you also don't want to let it all hang out all day because that is actually going to cause a lot of pressure out on the connective tissue. So what do we mean about this sort of middle ground? Well, I just want to explain a little bit about what happens with our TVAs. So when we're pregnant, I think this is our natural length of our TVAs, okay? So our TVAs, there are lots of different ones, but let's just say they wrap around into our back and they're here. So this is kind of like our natural length. So this would be our natural length of that TVA. And then when we're pregnant, what happens is it gets stretched out. And when it's stretched out, it can't work very well because a lengthened muscle like this, well, that doesn't work very well at all. So what happens is our glutes start working for us, our obliques start working for us, and that causes a whole lot of havoc when we we've given birth, right? So after we give birth, our muscles don't automatically pop back to where they were. Well, some people's do, but most people's don't. They kind of come back to here. So we're still in this lengthened state, but not as lengthened as when we were pregnant. But when we're in this lengthened state, our glutes and our obliques will keep working, and often we're letting it all hang out because we've got nothing keeping us in, right? It's our TVAs that flatten our bellies. It's our TVAs that protect our back. So if they're still in this lengthened, sort of really relaxed state, letting everything all hang out, well then you're not fixing that problem. The problem is that they're in a lengthened state and we need to fix them. So what we want to do is we want to put a very little bit of tension by pulling up from that pubic bone slightly into our muscles because we want to bring them back to that natural length, not this lengthened area. So we do this by putting a little bit of tension in, right? But if we were to engage, and I mean like engage like you're picking up a child or something like that, then that would be in a tightened state, okay? So whereas our natural length was this, when we engage, so if we imagine this is our natural length, when we engage, we kind of pull it tighter like this, so now it's a shortened muscle, which is tight and doing its job, but then it needs to go back to its natural length. Whereas what happens after pregnancy is we're in this lengthened state and we need to put that very little bit of tension in to kind of bring it back closer to its natural state. So how I tend to cue this for people is when you are, letting it all hang out and everything's lengthened, I want you to just pull up from the pubic bone slightly. Now, do you notice that my glutes didn't clench? Do you notice that my hips didn't push forward? Do you notice that I didn't whoo, right? I just pull up very slightly from my pubic bone, right? And that puts this little bit of tension here in my TVAs, which then supports my lower back and flattens my belly a little bit, which is a good thing, right? But my pelvic floor can still fully relax, my glutes are still fully relaxed. If you pull up and your pelvic floor rises and you can't relax your pelvic floor without letting it all go again, then you've pulled up too far, okay? It's only a very small movement. All right, I hope that this helped. If you have any questions, just post them below.